Welcome back to the DCC Insider Podcast. I'm David.
I'm Angelo.
I'm Tyler.
And we are here with Mr. Aaron Babicz, class of 93 at Catholic Central. How are you, Mr. Babicz?
I'm awesome. I'm honored to be here. I love what you guys are doing. I'm excited to dive into it.
Well, we're really happy to have you here, honestly. And I want to start off with, your time at CC, because I think that was probably pretty important in your growth and getting to this position of being athletic director at your alma mater. So is there a moment that you remember from your time at CC that just stands out that's like, I knew in that moment I had to come back here and work?
Well, my journey started in the fall of 1989, as we talked about earlier. I fell in love with CC right away. I came from a small Catholic grade school in Dearborn Heights, St. Sebastian, after going to public school K through 6th. So it wasn't too tough of a transition. I really fell in love with the culture of the place, had some great mentors. My whole time at CC, I didn't think that I wanted to come back. I never really felt that pull to come back and really do anything, but once I was gone, I realized how special it was. For me, when I came back as the head freshman football coach, actually I came back as an assistant, I realized how much I could pour into the kids and how much CC gave me in my own life, and including all of the special people that I still had around me in my circle. So that's when it really hit me that I felt like I had to get in the building. I was a marketing major, went to Hillsdale College, and just being around the kids, not just the athletes that were part of the football program, but I made sure that even then, even though I didn't work in the school, I talked to the other kids and I just realized, like, this is something I want to do. I want to give back. This is somewhere I need to be on a daily basis. And that was really the pull that brought me back. So when I first started coaching, I realized how enriching it was to be able to come back and to give back to a place that I loved. And it made me love CC even more. When you come back as an employee, you really get to see everything. You see behind the curtain, you see how much the kids are doing, what special things they're doing, and you get to know all of the boys, like all of them. Even though I'm the AD, I don't care if kids are athletes. I care that they're shamrocks, which I say all the time. Once I realized that and how much I could give back to a place that gave me so much, it was a no-brainer. So that's what really pulled me back to come back to CC in my current role.
Who has been your most influential mentor so far? I'm sure you've had many, and you could go on and on talking about them, but is there someone that sticks out specifically that you'd like to talk about?
I'd say besides the students who I look to as mentors, because I learned a lot from you guys, the way that you guys do so much with so much grace, with so much intensity and so much passion, that to me is like, that's mentorship. So I get a lot of my energy from our students, whether they're alums that come back and want to talk about what they're going through or just you guys on a daily basis. But for me, it was really Father Elmer. He was so special. He really made you feel like when you talked to him that you were the only person no matter what he was doing, he would make you feel like you were the only person in the world. And he just had that spirit about him to where you wanted to be better because of him. And he would never be negative no matter what was going on. He was always really big on solutions, which is how I am now. And he ended up baptizing both of my sons. He was just always really supportive in any role that I led here. It's funny because he would roll around on his little scooter towards the tail end of his career here at CC. Yeah. We named the stadium after him, so I would always mess with him and stuff, and he'd be like, "Don't make me kick you out of my stadium." And like, this is my hero saying, and I'm going back and forth with my hero and my mentor in a joking way, and he was also a priest, so it was like, it just made me feel like I could be greater than I ever thought that I could be. And still to this day, even though he's not with us anymore, I constantly lean back on him and just think of little engagements I had with him and how he handled people, because I'm a big people person. To me, it's about you guys and our people, the roots of who we are, and that's what Father Elmer made me understand at a really early age, and I think it helped me in my personal life and my life here at CC. So he's, I would say, still to me here at CC, he's my main mentor.
I think with mentorship, so like, you like a lot of books.
Yeah.
All right, so you like to read.
Which may surprise some people on this podcast, but yeah, I have a small library of leather-bound books in my, not really, that's from a movie, you guys probably never saw it, but go ahead.
You have the saying E plus R equals O in your office. You got the Ryan Holiday books. I know you love that guy.
Yeah.
And then there's also Stoicism. So, like, can you tell me, like, what's your favorite thing about, like, Stoicism books? Or, like, what kind of stands out to you as, like, this is, like, the best philosophy?
This is really going to freak people out when they hear me talk about it. I read a book called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, and he's big on like the teachings of like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius and some of the other Stoics. The thing I love about it is, like I said, I'm a big no complaints without solutions, no problems without solutions. And that's really what the Stoics kind of built their teachings on. They didn't teach you to run around things, they taught you to run right through them. So if my obstacle is standing in front of me, let's say it's this bottle of water, I'm not going to go around it. I'm going to go right through it and crush that bottle to get the obstacle out of the way and to get the outcome that I want. So when I read that book, it made me understand the only way forward is through. And that's it. There's no way to go around it. And you guys probably go through things in your lives to where you're like, I don't really want to deal with this right now. But then it sits there, right? And it festers and it grows into something bigger than it is. Shakespeare also used a phrase called eat the frog. So I had that on my whiteboard in my office, and people are like, eat the frog? Like, and I would make some kind of goofball joke like I usually do, but it means like in the morning, you want to do the toughest thing first. If you eat the frog in the morning, you don't have anything else to really worry about throughout the course of the day. So going back to your question in regards to like the Stoics, the only way forward in life is through. And that doesn't mean you have to do it by yourself. You can bring other people with you in that journey to help build you up, to help fill your bucket to where you can get through those obstacles. That's a big one. And I would say probably the best book I've ever read is by a guy named Don Miguel Ruiz, and he wrote a book called The Four Agreements. And I've talked to you guys about that before. The four agreements are be impeccable with your word, which is tough sometimes, but that comes right from the Bible, the word of the book. Don't make assumptions, which you guys know is tough, because if you don't have all the facts, it's easy to jump to conclusions and make assumptions.
Yeah.
The third one is tough, and this is something you guys can learn, and anybody watching this, don't take things personal. If someone says something or does something to you, it's usually an issue they're having in their own lives, so you can't take that personally. And then the fourth one is always do your best, regardless of what it is that day. I guarantee you, everybody that's going to watch this, and you guys, there's probably some days where you're just not feeling it. If that's your best that day, it's okay to be good with that. Give yourself a little bit of grace and understand you're not going to kill it every day, but if you do what your best is that day, then it's a positive. So I try to take as much positivity in as I can, because I listen to a lot of people here and their problems and their issues, what they're going through, because I love people and I love helping them. So what I try to get from books is coping mechanisms for myself and for the people that I love and the people that I deal with.
So you carry kind of the weight of the world sometimes. It feels probably on your shoulders. How do you get past that and realize that, these struggles, or the struggles of my students, because obviously you're going to want to take on the struggles of your athletes and your students and stuff here, right? How do you get past that and realize that I have to, at the end of the day, close the door, go home, be a father, come back to school and deal with all of this, and still kind of in a way be a dad here at CC too?
You just jump in with both feet. If you're going to do something, you dive in with both feet. So I know it's part of my job description. I probably do more psychology work in my job than anything else with our kids, their families, faculty members, alums, you name it. Right. It doesn't really feel like the weight of the world, because I love what I do. There isn't a day that I wake up that I'm not like I'm dreading coming to CC or coming to work. Snow days maybe, because like you guys all get to sleep in and so do our teachers, but for me, like I'm usually in by 8:30 dealing with madness. Yeah. But to be great at anything, it's tough to learn, but to be great at anything, you can't have balance. Something is going to suffer. If you really want to be great at something, there's something that's going to suffer, so you just have to figure out. People talk about what's on their plates all the time, right? Mm-hmm. I like to look at it like this. Like my main course on my plate is my family. Mm-hmm. Everything else outside of that is an appetizer, including my job. So once I was able to get married and have kids, I realized finally what was really on my plate, and I could kind of move everything else off to the side. So it's just mindset. That's all it is. No matter how intense of a job you're in, you think of some of these surgeons that are saving people's lives and stuff like that. I mean, that's pressure. Mm-hmm. What we do here is just lead with love. So if you enter it with the right mindset, it doesn't feel like it's the weight of the world. Like I try to give myself as much grace as possible. I know where my gaps are. I know what I'm good at. I know what I struggle with, but I find people to bring into my circle that help make it whole and help make it a full 7-course meal if I want it to be. Mm-hmm. So it's just mindset and trying to stay positive.
Yeah, and it's super important to have an open mind and a strong mind. You don't want your mind to be dragged down by your doubts. You got to always stay positive and push forward. And going back to the books, one of the books I'm reading is Choose Your 5 Next Moves by Patrick Bet-David. And one of the chapters is you can't do it on your own. There's the myth of the solopreneur, right? a solopreneur is an entrepreneur who works on their own, right? But you need to build a team around you. So what would you say and recommend to all the people listening? How would they build a team around them to help them accomplish their goals?
Humility. You have to realize what you're not good at. If you want to be a solopreneur, you can do, that's great. You're your own boss, but every single decision lands on you. So like you said, when you feel like the weight of the world's on your shoulders, who do you have to go to? You don't have your HR person to go to, or somebody else that's a mentor of yours that you're working with or that you can grill with questions. So you have to have that humility to realize, I'm not good at this. I got to pull somebody in that helps shore this up for me. Like me, this will come as no surprise to some of the adults who might see this. Not a fan of paperwork. Like, I can't stand being a swivel chair leader. I can't stand being in my office. I want to be out with the roots of our tree and our people to make sure everything else is strong. So, and like I said, I know what I'm not good at. So I have an associate AD who's fantastic at paperwork and the detailing stuff. And I celebrate him all the time. That's another thing you have to do is you got to celebrate your people. If someone pumps you up and fills your bucket, tell them you see them. There's something to be said by just telling somebody, hey man, like I told you guys, I see what you guys are doing. I asked you guys if I could be a part of this because I saw what you were doing and how cool it was. Just telling somebody you see them and what they're doing, I can't tell you how much of a bucket filler that is. So you do have to have some humility if you want to build the right team around you, because you got to know what you're not good at.
Right.
It's really that simple. Some people are too egotistical and think like, I can do this all on my own. I want to be my own boss. Well, a lot of responsibility and heat comes along with that.
Right.
How do you get to the point where, and this probably takes a very long time, but how do you get to the point where you are focused and you realize in life that you're here to serve others? And I feel like you've gotten to that point, right, where was there a certain age or a time after you're, at CC where you're like, you know what, my goal is now to help others, and my goal is to be here to support other people around me?
Well, you reminded me earlier that I'm 50 in 2 years, so I do have a little bit of time left, like you said. So thank God I've got 2 more years to pour in before I might as well just cash the chips in. I'm telling you, it just goes back to repetitive mindset is really what it is. I'm so thankful to wake up in the morning, to open my eyes and realize no matter what happened the day before, 2 days before, weeks before, months before, years before, I can't change that.
Yep.
But if I wake up in the morning, I have another chance to start back at zero. So it's really finding like little mindset hacks to where you write your own ship. Because I can tell you, super emotional, I'm super sensitive. I hate to admit this, but I will just because I'll open up a little bit. But like, there's music that makes me cry. There's movies that I sit and watch with my kids, like the latest Ghostbusters. Like, I don't know if you guys saw it.
Is it good?
It's pretty good. There's another one coming out. My kids are psyched.
Oh.
But there was a specific, we're at the movies watching this, and one of the old characters comes back as a ghost, and that reminded me of my childhood, and I sit and I look at my 8-year-old and 5-year-old, and I'm tearing up watching Ghostbusters. And I'm like, what the heck is wrong with me? But I realize, like, now, the older I get, I guess 48's not that old, but I feel like I'm getting older, but if you're not here to serve, what kind of example are you setting? You know what I mean? No matter how strong you are in your faith, whether you're Catholic, Muslim, it doesn't matter what you are. Our goal here is to be servant leaders because we get so much given back to us. What are we giving back? We have a beautiful school. We have great teachers, great people, mentors, classmates, Shamrock Brothers. We have all of that given to us and poured into us. What can we give back to each other? Even if it's the smallest thing. Me telling you, Tyler, the one day you saved me up in the press box, one of the first times we met, we couldn't get the board going, and you fixed it within a matter of minutes. And I'm like, this is a guy I need to bring into the circle, which we did immediately. And we started working it from there. That was, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, think of how quick that journey went. Now you're sitting here your senior year, right? I mean, that feels like it was yesterday to me.
14 and a half days left.
It's crazy to think about that.
That's crazy.
There's going to be guys in your class that are excited about that too. And then I can see it sitting in the crowd at graduation. They walk across that stage, they get the handshake and the diploma, and then it hits them. I didn't give back enough. I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have gotten involved more. So there's no time limit on serving. You can do that all the way until you say your last prayer and you go to heaven, hopefully. But there's no time limit on you to serve. So, and it's just such a great way to live your life. I would rather give more than I ever receive. As much as I like to help people, I know that in giving to them, I'm helping myself because it's something that I enjoy to do. So it's just a repetitive mindset. Like, I'm going to get up. What can I do to help our people today? what can I do to help somebody else today? Because I've already been given so many gifts, I have to pour back into other people. Like, I feel like it's something that I'm called to do. So once you flip your mindset, there's nothing you can't do.
It's about leaving that legacy. Legacies, honestly, that I've become to realize is very important. It's more important than how much money you make, you know, because at the end of the day, people will remember your last name and your family last name, and how much of an impact you have on society is probably the most important thing, I'd say. How do you want to be remembered at CC?
Servant leader,
Servant
motivator, hammer, 240-pound rhino. It's funny. I read a book
Where did
called...
that come from, the hammer?
I stole it from Coach Hancock.
Oh, you stole it from
He used to use it really early when he would talk about like good wrestlers, and then I just took it and I just thought of it, like I said, like you don't have to be a wrestler to be a hammer. You could be just a 245er here that kills it during the day and still be a hammer. So like you just have to pick it up and start hammering. That's kind of how I took the message. Instead of it just being a wrestler who was a tough kid, like, okay, that kid had to pick that hammer up to be a hammer and start the job. Everybody can do that. So whatever your definition of a hammer is, you make it your own and you just pick that tool up and you start to get to work. I mean, it's like you said about money, right? Like I could care less. I'm on a spending freeze right now at home because I'm a big shoe guy. So like anytime a new pair of shoes shows up, I get yelled at by my wife. But then I'm constantly telling her, and I got it from a movie by Frank Capra, and basically it's like you can't take it with you. You can't take money with you. No. So you could be a billionaire. Most of the billionaires in the world are so lonely. Yeah. And because you hear the saying all the time, money can't buy happiness. It's right. It's right. I mean, you could pay me $1 million, or you could pay me $20,000 to work here, and I'd be equally as happy because I control my own happiness. Yep. So to be honest, in that book, Rhinoceros Success, it talks about picturing yourself being a 3,000, 5,000 pound rhino every morning in the shower. Like every morning, this is like real deep. They're like, this is what makes him tick. Yeah. Every morning in the shower, I turn the cold on for 30 seconds, and I literally picture myself being a 5,000 pound rhino, shaking the water off, getting ready to just charge through everything in my path throughout the course of the day. So it just all goes back to mindset for me. I could ask you guys the same thing. Like, when you leave here, what do you want to be known for? Or known as? Right? A good kid. Like, you guys just want to be known as good people here who left it all on the table at CC. Yeah. Like, by the time you guys are gone, your table should be completely clean. You should feel like you ate every single dish on that table that you could and got the most out of your experience possible. So it's you choose your own path. You really do.
We choose the legacy that we leave.
Exactly. Like, it's really up to you guys and up to that your own individual self and what you see yourself as. But the real hack is, can you carry that from here out into your own personal life? Like, I don't just serve here. I do too much of it, I think, as well in my own personal life, because I just tell people all the time. Like, a friend of mine and I had a debate. I say I love you when I hang up the phone with like friends, family members, like pretty much anybody. Sova, Mr. Sova, who helps you guys out with this. I tell him whenever we talk, stuff like that. But he knows I mean it because I'll talk to him about his music, or like, hey, when's your next album coming out? Why don't we do this, like, for when your album comes out and stuff like that? Like, we talked about him being on the House of Hammers podcast, and like, you know, we came up with the idea, let's wait till your next album comes out. Like, I want you to bring a physical copy of the record on there so we can kind of promote it. So that's really what it is. So I don't know.
Is it recognizing in other people strengths and recognizing other people for who they are, and that's kind of how you feel that giving back is?
It's not necessarily recognizing their strengths or their weaknesses. It's just meeting them where they are. Like, I feel like I'm good at reading people's spirits, kind of. I can tell when people are going through it for some weird reason, and I just felt like I kind of got a little bit of that from Father Elmer. I try to listen more than I talk, even though I know I'm talking a lot here, but it's kind of what we were supposed to do. But I listen intently, and you guys being as young as you are, but you guys are all very mature for your age. When people listen, more times than not, they're thinking of their next response instead of really listening. I try to listen and then take it in, and then I formulate my response when the other person is done talking. That way it's more genuine. So that's a big thing too, is just trying to listen to people and meet them where they are, wherever they are on their journey. If they're struggling, tell them you can be empathetic with them and share something you've struggled with. If they're celebrating something, just tell them I see it. Like, I see what you're doing. It's awesome. You know what I mean? It's just something that simple. So
Yeah, with that, like, is love probably like the biggest part of leadership?
It's the only part of leadership. That's it. If you lead with love, everything else falls into place. I mean, along with that comes a lot of patience and things like that. And since I've become married, like, people are like, well, what's it like? I'm like, well, it's like having a girlfriend, except you have to listen to everything they say now, which is true. My wife will never see this. She'll be fine with that. But that's a big part of it too, is intently listening to people and really taking in what they're talking about. I mean, and like I said, with love, I'm a big proponent of, like, leading with love. Like I always say, lead with love. That's the only way. I preach it to our people here in our faculty meetings. I'm constantly trying to love up our faculty because I don't get to see all of them all the time. But if you truly lead with love, you have to walk it too. It can't just be something like, I can't say we're going to lead with love and then not love our people up, because they're going to be like, oh, well, it's just some tagline that he read somewhere. But like, if you really do it intently, if, like I said, I keep saying empty your bucket, fill your bucket, it fills your bucket back up too, because I can say it to you guys and you guys know that I'm here for you. If you guys know if you were going through something gut wrenching and you needed somebody to go to, I've said it repeatedly to you guys, walk down and we can close the door and just hash it out. Like, and if I just need to sit there and listen, I'll just listen. If you want some feedback, like I tell my wife, like if she gets mad at me, I'll give you guys this, people that watch this too, I'll ask her, do you want comfort or solutions? Mm-hmm. Sometimes that works, but if she's really upset, that's probably the last thing I should say, which I'm learning. Like, my anniversary is tomorrow, so I probably won't use that too often. Yeah. But there's only one way to lead. Like, I think of guys like Father Elmer, and that's the only way he did it, and he lived to be in his mid-90s, so there's got to be some secret to that. That's the special sauce and what we need more of in this crazy world we're living in.
Yeah. Speaking of the crazy world we're living in, right? With technology and all these online influencers, there's a lot of bad, but there's also a lot of good that's come from it, right? Who would you recommend for people at home to follow and watch?
There's so many of them that I love. Ryan Holiday is a great one. Gary Vaynerchuk is another great one. He uses some questionable language, but his message about believing in yourself and positivity are awesome. A Navy SEAL that I love named Jocko Willink, he wrote a book called Extreme Ownership, which kind of makes you blame yourself for everything. As if you're the leader, it all starts at the top. So if somebody didn't get the message I wanted to convey, that's not their fault. That's my fault, because I didn't do it or communicate it the way that they should have gotten it. I think those are probably three of my favorites. I'm a huge John Gordon fan, which he's always talking about, you don't have to do things, you don't need to do them, you get to do them. Like, get to is a big thing. Those are two words for me, regardless of what it is, whether it's a parental email or a tough meeting I have to be in, I get to be there. Like, I'm in the fight. So I realize, that's what I steal from John Gordon, and he writes books on pretty much everything. He's the guy that I took the roots, not fruit from in a book called The No Complaining Rule. So I would say those are probably like 4 or 5 of the guys I really enjoy. They're all positive. Aside from Gary V's language, his message is fantastic. He just basically says, he uses something I really wish you guys could understand. It's called aggressive humility. And it's not being boisterous about what you do, but it's going all in on yourself so much. And like I said, eating everything on your table to where like, I'm ready for this, whatever it is. So for me, I go into every situation with a high level of confidence because I know I've put the work in ahead of time. So I can go in with that aggressive humility. I'll be humble, but I'm going to tell you, this is what I know to be true, or this is where I can help you. This is a little gap I can help fill in. So I think that's one of the greatest messages I get from all those guys I'm watching it. That's, for me, like, that's what I love to watch, is like, you give me somebody talking about like some positivity, and that's the kind of stuff that I take in and just like, I just try to share it with as many people as humanly possible. A football player from Tennessee named Inky Johnson. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him. He's phenomenal. Like, you think of what he went through, possible NFL career just ripped away from him on a freak injury. Now he goes and talks about love, positivity, motivation, and things like that. I mean, he's another really positive one that I love to listen to. Just because I know he's been through the fire. I mean,
right.
And he's sharing it with other people. That's the one positive about social media and all the stuff that we have nowadays. Now, on the negative side, and you guys have probably experienced this, I have too, like during COVID, I saw the term doom scrolling. And I'm like, wow, that's a pretty powerful term. Because we would go down those rabbit holes and you're like, the world is ending, we're never going to get back together, like all this stuff. We had to wear those masks on campus. So like when we had to do that, and you guys were here at the start of it.
During sports, like I played soccer freshman year. I remember our freshman coach got COVID, and that whole season we had to wear masks, and it was
Think about
rough.
that. The state championship picture on the wall for soccer that year, our guys are wearing masks.
Yeah.
Like that hurts my soul when I see that, because I don't get to see the smiles on the faces after winning a state championship game. I mean, think about how crazy that was. You guys as 8th graders were locked in your homes for the whole second half of your 8th grade year. Then you came back here to a hybrid system, everybody wearing masks, contact. Think about that stuff. To me, that feels like it was a million years ago, but then I see a picture on the wall and it brings up all that emotion and stuff. Because I was a basket kid. I couldn't figure out how to help people because so many people were in so many different places. People over here were petrified. People over here kind of sort of believed it and were a little scared, and then you had people over here that didn't believe it at all in one school building that was trying to just bring people back together. So I couldn't figure out how to help people, and no matter what I did, it didn't affect too many things. So I really kind of got depressed during that time, and here's really why. Because I was isolated. Really couldn't be with the kids. We couldn't do stuff like this. You know what I mean? So for me, that was a really depressing time because I couldn't be the best version of myself. So I started doing Zoom casts during COVID. I did one every Monday for 14 weeks. Never rehearsed, just kind of the same format, and it would just give people a chance to get together and talk. And I mean, we talked about race relations, we talked about motivation, you name it. I mean, we ran the gamut of topics, and that was a way for me to help find another piece of myself that could help give back. So as depressed as I was not being able to be face to face with our people, I just tried to find other ways to. But yeah, that was a crazy time. And for you guys to go through that, that's why I say I'm so impressed with our students and with you guys as young leaders, because we all found a way to get through it together. You know what I mean? It wasn't one person coming up with all these great decisions. We all had to pull together for the greater good of Catholic Central.
You know, and honestly, I'm kind of reminded, and I know this has become a trite thing that's all over social media and stuff, but like we didn't come this far just to come this far, right?
Right.
And honestly, that's true. And we, you know, our class specifically, the senior class, has been through COVID, we've been through losses, but through it all, we stayed together. And I think that's kind of the most under-recognized thing, maybe, among our class is like, yeah, college looks
Kib,
tough.
I thought you were about to start crying on
I know, I'm honestly, I'm like,
right
this is, you know, because it's real though, honestly.
It's
like,
true.
We've been through a lot as a group, and you know, I don't usually get that emotional, but like, frankly, it's real, and I love my class, and it's going to be very tough to leave here for that reason.
One of the
because,
smallest
you know,
classes we've ever had in this new building.
Yep.
If you think about that. And you guys have done so much as a class. Look at the media team. That started with you guys.
Started freshman year. Yeah.
I mean, think about that. And look at how it's blown up now. We talked about how it could blow up and how it would, and it blew up to exactly what we thought it would, if not more.
Yeah.
I mean, the adult mentors you guys have around you, like Sean Silva, like an Aaron Miller in IT, like Mrs. Teed, they all saw the vision for it, but like for us to see where you guys took it, because culture's great if it starts at the top. We can preach all the culture we want from the top of the school, but unless you guys get it at the ground level as the roots, it's just a word. And you guys took so hard to that, like to making sure the CC culture stayed strong, no matter how big or how small your class was. I mean, that's why you guys are leaving a legacy behind as a class full of hammers. That's the only way to put it, because you guys fought through what some would consider hell to get us back to being, you know what I mean, in that light of heaven like we are now. I mean, it feels like you guys have left nothing on the table. You guys have tried to accomplish and do everything and innovate and stay creative during that whole time. And look at where we sit now. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever thought you'd be doing this freshman year.
Absolutely not.
But that's what I'm saying. You guys came up with something that you knew was a passion for yours.
Saw Angel over here.
But you jumped into it.
Exactly.
Like, why not take a chance? Don't be afraid to fail. Like, fail big.
Yeah.
Like,
Fail
fail forward. You have to fail forward.
Most people never start their dreams, and then they live with that regret. But you can't live with that regret.
No,
You
it
just
eats
try.
you up
It eats you up.
inside.
Exactly.
Yep.
So that's why you should, as you said, jump in with 2 feet.
You have to.
Yeah.
And
No
take
other way
every
to do it.
opportunity, honestly. Like, you know, that was what you told us freshman year. Put everything possible on your plate right? To the point where you have to give stuff up, and that's when you know you've tried everything. And
Tell
that
people
was
you
like
love them.
Yeah, exactly. Tell people you love them. Try everything you can, and yeah. And I think that's always been my biggest advice for freshmen coming is like put everything possible on your plate and then get rid of it. You know, right? And slowly decide what you want to do and what you really like. I tried ISL this year. Like I would never have played soccer ever in my entire life. It was the one sport that even as like when I was younger, I never ever played soccer. And Angelo kind of like convinced me to join ISL. And I had the best time.
We went from 25 kids last year, and we had like over 88 kids.
Yeah, it drove us crazy trying to figure out field time. We're like, oh my god! But that's it though. Like if the kids come up with it, like a kid will come up to me and he's like, let's start a boxing club, which I would love. I'm like, can we do it with some of the adults? Yeah. Just kidding. Kind of. But like I'm like, all right, put a one-page.
Mr. Babicz.
That's like two ninjas fighting each other. We can't do that. I'm not going to talk about who'd be on my list to box, but I was like, all right, put together a one-page proposal. We'll take it to Mr. Carrier, see if it's got some meat to it, and we'll start it. Like, if it's something that you guys want to do, it's our job to help facilitate that. We can't say, okay, who's the man you seek to become? Well, I want to become this man. Oh, well, we don't have that, so maybe you try this. No. Let's figure out what you want to do, and if there's enough people that want to do it, let's start something and see where it goes. Like the media team.
I'm so grateful to have.
I mean, it's. And now we have the premier media team in the state of Michigan, if not one of them in the Midwest. Like you said, maybe even the country. So
I remember standing on the top of the press box, me and Chris Kolhoff freshman year, like freezing like crazy. It was snowing.
Shout out Chris.
There's also gates around the top of the press box, so that's completely legal and safe.
Exactly.
You preface that.
With like a plastic bag over the camera because we didn't have any of the proper equipment yet and stuff, and just to see where you guys have taken it is absolutely amazing.
The effects are amazing as well.
And,
people can't believe that our effects are done by our students. Like they see his stuff, they see Josh Rother's, they see Dom Racchioni. We go back to like a Cole Vincent, who was one of like the first guys that ever did graphics for us. Shout out to Cole, who killed it for us. He was awesome. But once we realized, like, so the media team started, I wanted a sports information director. It just wasn't in the cards. It's kind of unconventional for a high school, but my vision for CC is almost like a small college, which it does feel like. Along with that comes some of that support. So when they were like, sports information director isn't really in the cards right now. So I'm like, okay, well, then I'm going to go and we're going to start something with the kids. Because honestly, we'll overpay for like people to do graphics that are professionals. And then I see the stuff that we do and I'm like, well, our kids' stuff is just as good, if not better. Like the videos that we put out and the content we put out, whether it's stuff like this or whether it's something as simple as like a game day graphic. Like we do graphics for mass and stuff now. Like that was one positive too that came out of COVID is that people found Canva. Like I started doing graphics and I have no idea, like I have a marketing degree, and I love it. I still do it to this day, but you know, as soon as I figured out we weren't going to have an SID, I'm like, all right, well, let's just start something that the kids will love. And because you pulled kids in that weren't necessarily student athletes, but they love sports and they love everything that goes along with it. And you made them feel like they were part of any of the biggest teams here. Like that's brotherhood and that's leading with love. Like I want to bring everybody with me, not just the kids who are student athletes. If you love Catholic Central and you love what this place stands for, like I want you on that bus with me. Like you have to have a seat on my bus because that's how we're going to get there. The keys of that bus are going to be love, and then I'm going to fill the seats with everybody that helps me spread that love and that servant leadership.
Mr. Babicz, besides all your time at CC and obviously absorbing all that positive information, what else do you do for fun?
Think about CC.
No.
Dream about CC.
Outside of CC, I'm always thinking about like some kind of like harebrained scheme to like do here. You can add, like I said, with having Mr. Silva behind the camera over here, he can attest to that because I'm constantly coming up with like just weird little ideas like culture committees and all this crazy stuff. But outside of CC, I'm pretty much the same. Like my intensity level is at 1,000 all of the time. So if you are in my circle and you run with me, like you have to be on that level. Like we don't have off days. Like very rarely do I get to just sit down and relax. Like for me, if I sit down and relax, my body realizes it's slowing down and I actually feel like unhealthy. But outside of CC, like I love to work out. I love spending obviously time with my family and my kids. I have an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old. It's when you really figure out what your why is, like everything in life just falls into place. to be honest, when I was working at CC as the admissions director, because I did that job for 3 years, and then I took over as AD in 2009, when I was on campus doing CC stuff, everything in my life was perfect. When I would leave here, because I didn't have some of the other stuff that I wanted, I struggled outside of CC. I didn't really know like what my purpose outside of CC was until I met my wife, until we had our kids, and then I'm like, all right, this is what I know I'm supposed to be doing. But then I learned that most of the stuff I teach my kids is the same stuff I teach you guys, just on an 8th grade or an 8-year-old and a 5-year-old level. Yeah. Honestly, it goes in reverse too, because a lot of stuff I teach you guys, I message it the same way as I do to my 8-year-old and 5-year-old. But it's consistency in that. It's consistency in that message. And then another one I don't hate to admit, but ever since I got done at Hillsdale and playing college football there and realized there was no football after that, I started playing a ton of slow pitch softball. So like I play in tournaments across the country. Like we go to Florida every year and play in big. We hosted a tournament out here last weekend that I played in. So for me, but it's weird because so we play on Sunday here, right? And I'm yelling at these guys who are swearing on Sunday. Like I'm like, this is Jesus's campus. Like you can't say that stuff out here. And they're like, okay, we get it. So I go home that night and we go to my parents' house. And my dad's getting ready at the end of the month to have quintuple bypass surgery, which is scary. He's 75, and it goes back to mindset. And I'm thinking, like, am I getting ready to tell my 8-year-old, my 5-year-old that they're not going to see their grandpa anymore? Because it's aggressive. I mean, it's a pretty tough surgery. Yeah. But then I go back to my mindset, and I'm like, all right, well, this is how I should be looking at it, and like every day is a blessing and things like that. But in my slow pitch softball life, it's really the same because I build teams or I join teams where they have a strong culture. Like I want to be able to be around the guys on my team when the games are done. I want to know I can bring my wife and kids around those guys when the tournament's over with and we can just hang and go out to dinner. And that's just the kind of people that I put around me. So that's why I love that kind of weird niche community a little bit. And outside of that, just I like to read. I like to, like I said, go down the rabbit hole of positivity. And that's pretty much it. I'm pretty simple, like, as a person. I mean, it really is. Like, if I can give more than I get, I'm perfectly happy with everything in my life. So,
you're gonna be in the faculty IBA game?
I mean, now that we hired Coach Jackson and we're gonna blow out the students by 20 points, I might have to sneak in and get a couple rebounds maybe. But yeah, it's been a couple years since I played in it. But yeah, I think it's time.
I think it's after break.
After break.
It gives me 2 weeks to get in basketball shape.
Yeah. So how do you...
Or whatever that is as you're nearing 50, with a couple years left. You said it.
So obviously, everybody kind of faces that burnout in their life, right? How do you, because being such a high energy person and kind of something that we all aspire, I'm sure everybody here aspires to kind of be, how do you come back from like burnout when you're kind of down and out for a little while? Is there something that you do or routine or something just to keep yourself going?
No, there really isn't. You have to find it. We had a guy come in last Friday, maybe the Friday before, and just talk about communicating with people. And he had a great saying. You've heard the saying, one size fits all, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. His saying was one size fits one. Mm-hmm. So once I realized that, like I could tell you what I do, but it might not help you when you're at your lowest point. You know what I mean? So for me, honestly, like one of the best hacks I found, and now that I have a family, I use it repeatedly. If we go on a vacation, I don't take a ton of pictures because I want to experience the moment, not... you see like the guys for Selection Sunday for college basketball. What I noticed in every single one of those, no matter what the college was, every single kid had his phone filming it. Yeah. Instead of just being in the moment. So like for me, if I'm at a low point or I feel like I'm getting run down, I never feel run down here. I might like in terms of a lack of sleep, but as soon as I get in this building, it's just 100 miles an hour. It really is. Like, and I don't need to hammer coffee all day or anything like that. It's just like, I know that as soon as I walk in this door, like whatever my version of my best is that day, I have to do that. Mm-hmm. So I just find little ways to talk. I talk to myself. Mm-hmm. Like if I'm feeling down and because here's my thing. If I'm in my office and I know I'm in the thick of it and I might be a little bit burned out or depressed, it's fine. I can be that in my office. But when I go out in the hallway, I have to make sure I hide that because I don't want you guys to ever feel that or see it because then you're like, oh, he might be going through something. I don't want you guys to ever think that because I want to help you guys. I'll handle my own stuff, or if I feel like I need to reach out to somebody, I'll do that. But it's you figuring out your own way to pull yourself up, whatever it is. Whether it's calling somebody and telling them you love them, whether it's giving somebody a compliment, whether it's just letting somebody you don't know really well, like, hey man, I saw you do that. That was really awesome. And it might be somebody you've never talked to, but you know just by saying that, that's going to pull you back out of wherever you are. If your bucket's empty, you have to figure out what you can fill your bucket up with. So one size has to fit one there. So however I do it might be different than all three of you guys, but you have to figure out how to fill your own bucket back up. I mean, that's the easiest way to do it. And I'm telling you, it all comes back to your mindset. It really does. You can literally like hack your own brain to think of however you want to be, however your path is going to be that day. Like if there's something tough that day, eat the frog in the morning and then the rest of the day is gravy. It's just mindset and just don't let yourself get there. And you're going to go through loss, you're going to lose loved ones, and we've all seen it, we've all been around it. Like I said, I really worry about my dad because like my mom and my dad are my two main heroes. They got divorced when I was 5 and remarried my freshman year here. But the way that they handled the in-between with so much love and grace with me in the middle of it, because I'm an only child, probably won't surprise a lot of people. But that's the thing. I watched them and how they handled that. And I mean, it's tough. Like getting a divorce and things like that, it's not easy. And being a kid in the middle of that can be tough on the kid. So for me, like I just think of some of my heroes and try to steal little things, and maybe it works for me, maybe it doesn't. And then I just grab my own thing and I fill my bucket with it. And that's the easiest way to do it. So I just try to not let myself get too high or too low, which is tough because I get really excited when we do something great. And when I see our guys struggle, like for me, like there'll be guys that I'll see in tears at graduation and it'll gut me because like it's just raw emotion. When I see our teams lose or when I see our community go through something, that's when CC is really at its best because we get to pull together. Like that's when we're at our best. When you really got to be a family and gut it out together, regardless of like, it's another book that I read called Embrace the Suck. No matter what kind of suck you're in or no matter how tough it is, like it's just making sure you find your own way to pull yourself out of it. And if it's other people that help pull you out, like you said, get those people around you that they can feel when you're in a tough spot and they just simply ask you like, how you doing? Like just something that simple. Because like I told you guys, when people come to you with their issues, very rarely do they say, they'll unload on you, but they're not going to ask you, what are you going through? Is there something I can help you with? Now that I told you guys, like notice that when people do that. But don't be afraid to tell them like, hey, you know, I'm going through something too. You mind if I talk it out with you too? Yeah. Don't be afraid to push that issue back. Because you can't just take someone's negativity and problems in and just wear them. Because that's when you feel like the weight of the world's on your shoulders. Because then you start taking all these pieces from other people and you just take that in. Well, there's nowhere for that to go. You know what I mean? So you got to be really careful and set some boundaries too, to where you just don't get too high and too low.
So is there any advice you have on like surrounding yourself, like in college, surrounding yourself with like bucket fillers, as you say, or hammers
tough
or
in college.
something?
How do you find other hammers? Or
You'll realize this.
Do hammers just come together naturally?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah.
Like you just attract them by who you are. You'll start to notice like as you grow as a person, those people just kind of gravitate towards each other. But then which really exposes those people that come in that don't fit that group, that are like negative 24/7. Like I just don't have time for it. I'll flat out tell people if they're sitting there just complaining in my office, I'm like, do you have a solution? You don't have a solution? Well, there's a door. And it's that simple. Like you can't come to me with your problems unless we can come up with a solution together, or unless you have one already that I can help you with. I mean, it's so like I said, you just kind of gravitate towards each other. And then you guys are smart enough to kind of feel their, like I said, you feel their spirit. You just know if you want that person around you. And you'll start to audit your circle a little bit, which is another term I like to use, because you know this person's a good person, but they just don't fit where you are and who you are. They're not meeting you where you are. So if it's not reciprocated, why do you have to meet them where they are? It's got to be a two-way street. So like the people around me know that I'm there for them when they need it, and they know that they have to be there for me when I need it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to wrap up. What state champs ring are you wearing today with us?
This is the hockey ring from last year.
Okay.
I try to rotate them quite a bit. I just try to wear the one that's like most recent, whatever. I don't know. It's funny because when I don't wear one, and I really started getting them so the kids knew how proud I was of them. I'm never on the ice or on like the wrestling mat. Like I wrestled here for 2 years. I was brutal. I hated it. I got my butt kicked. There's 2 Krieger boys in the building right now, Caden and Lee. Their dad came back when he was at Wisconsin and beat the brakes off me in the wrestling room, and I was like, maybe this isn't the sport for me. But I want to show all of our teams how proud I am of them and just how honored I am to be such a small part in their journey. And that's the way I feel about you guys too. I mean, just it's such an honor to see what you, and I'm so proud of what you guys are doing. And that's why I tell you guys how proud I am. And I mean, you know, you stayed patient with me because we had to cancel the first 2 times we were going to do this. Right. And every time you came to me, I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. And it wasn't like an empty sorry, like I felt it. But like I appreciate you guys like just waiting for us to get together because it's such a positive thing that you guys are doing. We're not done yet because I have a question for you guys. And when I tiptoed around it earlier, and I'm going to ask you guys individually, what do you want to be known for when you walk across that stage as a graduate of Detroit Catholic Central?
A grinder. Just someone who puts in 100% effort, works hard, sets their goals, and accomplishes them.
Do you feel like you left anything on the table?
I think I've done a lot here, to be honest. I don't, like, thinking, I mean, I always have different ideas, like, what we could do, and I'm the oldest of my family that's going to be coming here. My youngest brother is in 3rd grade, so there'll be a lot of Boukouris here. But, I feel like I've done a pretty good job, but obviously there's always more. You could always do more, so...
As a dad of 2 boys, don't forget, since you're the oldest, you're the hero for all those kids.
Yeah.
You really are. As crazy as they probably drive you, which they probably do, right?
Oh, they do.
Don't forget that you're their hero, just like your big brother is to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I'd ask you the same question. What do you want to be known for when you leave this place? Because you've been around CC for 10 years, if not longer.
If not longer, yeah. I was going to bring up, first time I actually met you, I remember 6th grade. I remember getting a kind of a lecture like this. I was like, wow, this guy's kind of intense, right? but then I realized...
I'm happy to see that I made good on that.
Exactly.
So you knew I was being real.
No, but what I want to be remembered at, I want to be remembered as the guy that everybody can go to, frankly. And I could care less about the accomplishments and stuff here. You know, they're great. They're high honors. But... you know, I would rather be the guy that people knows that they could go to, and the guy that's willing to guide people and help people through tough times in their lives. And is there anything left on the table? Yeah, there's one thing left on the table. I'm working on it right now.
Good.
So, you know, that's about it, though.
So by the time you walk across that stage, that's not going to be on the table.
Oh, it's going to be done. It's not on the table.
There you go.
Yeah, don't worry.
Big T?
Probably a good Catholic. You know, everybody kind of knows me as the tech guy, but spiritually I've been really working on myself.
That's definitely not how I think of you, just so you know. Go ahead.
So I just hope to work on that, you know, and kind of shine a light through others' eyes. And
He's not just the tech guy, he's a car guy, too. He's got a beautiful
1987
He's not just a guy you can go to, he's also a car guy.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But that's the thing, like, you guys all mentioned things that those are the legacies that you guys will leave behind. Like, for me, you're not the tech guy when you leave CC, you know what I mean? Like, I was really happy with just the bond that we were able to build through technology that we might not have ever built before. If we didn't have the media team, we might never have met each other here at CC. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. Like, you just try to find a way to just create some type of positive change. If you can do that, you guys are already great representatives of who we are, but that doesn't stop when you walk across that stage. So, and you guys are doing such a great job. I love this experience. Like, you guys had great questions, and like I said, I'm just honored to be a small part of your journey here at Catholic Central.
Thank you, Mr. Babicz. We appreciate it.
Before we leave, for all the younger classmen watching this, if you guys are interested in joining the podcast club, we would love to have you. We'd love to show you what we do behind the scenes. You can either be an editor, you can be a host like David and Tyler and myself, and there's also many other hosts. We also have another show, the Student Podcast. And so if you're interested, come talk to us. You can DM our Instagram page, or
you can reach out to any of us personally as well.
Or
If
Mr.
you see us in the
Silva.
hallway, have any questions, and you know, this is one of our last podcasts we're going to be able to do as a group. You know, so we only have 14 and a half days left, as we mentioned. So we need some people to continue this legacy for us that we've kind of built here over the past almost 6 months now, 4, 5, 6 months almost. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it,
Mr.
boys.
Babicz.
Absolutely. Great job.
Thank you.